What's up? It's Sofia Gutierrez with Arena Football One, and today I am joined by the one and only Henry Nell from the Albany Firebirds. Henry, how are you doing?
Hey, Sofia, not too bad. Thanks for having me tonight. This is a big honor. I'm happy to be here with you guys.
Amazing. I know you're back in New York. You were just in Salina this past weekend. How was that travel day for you?
It was a little unorthodox. It was a long travel. I actually just got back from the traveling, and if you think we left on Monday morning real early, and we just got here on this Tuesday evening, so the body is definitely feeling it. Half our team was traveling by airplane, half our team was traveling by bus, and I just so happened to be on one of the buses, So we hit a little bit of storm, and then once we got in New York, we hit a big accident, so we were backed up for 2 hours. So we were standing still on the three-way, not even moving an inch. So that's just all in a nutshell. It was tough, but we made it.
Yeah. Now, when things like that happen, how do you remain calm or relax your body? Because I know today's probably obviously an off day, but tomorrow, are you back in the gym, back with the team, with the guys?
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. It's adversity. Every team goes through certain things like this at some point in the season, and if you approach it in the right mindset, you can make it a good situation. So it gave me a little bit of time. We were actually in the bus with one of our coaches, and we were on the iPads looking at the film. We were talking about the game. We were going over where we can improve and what the other team is doing this weekend that we can kind of capitalize on. So, I could have sat there and complained, but we decided we ain't gonna do that, and we got straight to work. You make use of the time that you have. So it was kind of on the one side, yes, it was a long travel, but on the other side, it kind of saved me some homework.
Yeah. Speaking about film, the other day during the game, I was interviewing, I can't remember if it was Isaiah Scott or it was the QB, Sam Castronova. I was about to grab them, but they were all looking at an iPad of film, and I was like, wow, these guys aren't even
Yeah.
taking breaks. They're working while they're working.
Yep. No, that's exactly how it's supposed to be, because the thing is, with the film right next to the field, you can quickly look at a replay and see that, oh, this defender did this, and we can capitalize on this move. And if you can pick that up in the game, the very next play, you can potentially run that, and you can be successful on it. So, as a professional, you gotta stay on top of your game. You gotta be this little bit better than the opponent. So any weaknesses we can find really quick is only going to be for your benefit.
And do you think capitalizing on those, not mistakes, but looking at those plays and really adjusting your move for the next play. Do you think that's what made the difference from the first half and the second half? Because I know coming off the first half, I think it was a 1 point difference. Compared to the end, it was way more than one. Do you think that helped?
Absolutely. We stayed calm and composed throughout the first half. It was minor mistakes that we had. It was nothing big that we had to switch up the whole game plan. Everything was working. We were just missing cues, maybe by one step or a yard, or receivers turned a little bit too late or too early on the throw with Sam. So once we kind of got in the locker room and talked about it a little bit, there was everybody got together. There was no like cussing each other out or anything. We stayed as a team. So halftime, we were calm and collective, and everybody was like, you know what? Let's make this slight adjustment on timing, and we were straight back into it. So when the second half started, I mean, the result spoke for itself. I think we as a team, like, we have that capability of just sticking together when times get tough. Where other teams, they kind of lose that motivation and they start like pointing fingers. We have so many good players here and veterans and leaders where we can like take a step back and be like, all right, let's listen to this person, let's make some adjustments based on him, and then from there everything just the dice just started rolling. So I'm really happy that we turned that switch in the second half.
And who would you say is that leader that kind of helps give the pep talk to the team during that halftime break?
we have it Our team is so, we have our captains, and they do a fantastic job, and everybody looks up and respects them, but we have also so many individual leaders, in their position, respectfully, um, in all aspects of the game, on defense and on offense. So any player in the moment can step up and say something, and everybody listens, and everybody can be like, all right, let's build off this. But I mean, just a few names out there, and you see them perform on the field. people like Sam Castronova. He's a fantastic quarterback and leader as well. So he takes his receiver group and sit down and they figure it out together. The O-line takes so much pride in blocking for him as well. In the defense, they play to get him back onto the field. So there's so many leaders that steps up and make big plays in crucial moments. But I mean, I can go through the whole list, and everybody can honestly be one of those star leaders that takes that moment on their shoulders and kind of run with it.
That's amazing. I love that. Now, let's backtrack a little bit. I know you're from South Africa. Tell me about the move from South Africa to the US and how that happened.
Well, I don't think we have enough hours in this day, but I'll wrap it up in a little short nutshell. But yeah, never really thought about football. It was never really on my agenda of exploring the game. I grew up playing rugby since I was 5 years old. Played through high school, and in rugby you have the ability to run with the ball, play defense, and kick. So since I could remember, I think I kicked the ball before I want to say even learned how to walk. But I mean, that'd be a little unrealistic. But to just kind of put it out there, like, it was something that I just grew up with. I absolutely fell in love with it at a young age, and I never looked back. That was my hobby. When everybody else were getting their consoles and PlayStations, I asked for 2-3 more extra rugby balls so I could go and kick. So it was a big passion, and it developed into a lifestyle as I got older as well. And yeah, from South Africa, it was kind of a crazy way it all happened. I was playing a rugby tournament in my senior year in high school, and things didn't really. We won the tournament, but afterwards, I feel like something was missing. There was a missing key. Why am I feeling like I just won, but nothing is like, I'm not fulfilled? And I went to bed and I had a dream. And in this dream, I was sitting with my parents and my kicking coach in South Africa around the table. I got on an airplane. I flew to the States. I got off. I was on a field, helmets, pads, run onto a field. My technique looked different. There was a holder, a snapper, and I kicked a 44-yard left hash kick. It's a dream I'll never forget. It was as clear as daylight in that moment. And I woke up, and I still had school that day. And I was like, what does this mean? Like, I don't even know. So I went to school, and ironically, I was in math class. I was done my work, and I was sitting down, and I Googled real quick on my phone, who is this guy kicking with helmets and pads? And so ironically, it was, place kicker is American football. This is his job. He runs on, he kicks, he goes off. I was like, no tackling, well, occasional tackling, no having to make like this decision-making with plays. Your job is solely kicking. I was like, this is me. Like, I love this. This is why I played rugby, was the ability to kick. In rugby, you score a try, which is equivalent to like a touchdown. It's worth more points. Now, my good game would be scoring those and converting all of them. But if I missed the kick, in my mind, it was like, you had a bad game. So it sounds crazy, but that's how much pride I took into it. And when I found this dream, I wasn't really sure what it meant at the time. So I went to my kicking coach, Vian van der Reed, and he has this kicking academy in South Africa. And I asked him, like, hey, coach, like, I don't know what to do. I'm in this little pickle, I'm playing pro rugby, and I have this dream about football, a game that I've never even watched.
I was just gonna ask, like, were you watching a bunch of football that's why you had the dream?
How the dream came to me, I have no idea. I've never watched football. I don't know anything about the game, no positions, nothing. I just know rugby players tackled harder than football players, because when they show the comparison on YouTube, one has pads, one doesn't. So you make your own conclusion. But I never watched the game, so I have no idea what I was doing. But I had the ability to kick the ball really far and straight. So once I talked to my coach, and he was kind of the one that was like, you know what? I would have asked you if you were interested in football and if you wanted to pursue that in the following year or so. And I was like, that was my answer. So from there, I retired at a young age from rugby, which was kind of hard as well, because it was the only game I wanted to play since I was a kid. I wanted to represent my country. I wanted to go as far as I possibly can. And here I have this opportunity in my first year making money playing rugby, and I had to be like, retire early to go play a game that I have absolutely zero knowledge in. People thought I was crazy. I had a lot of like doubters that say like, this is impossible. You're wasting your time. Like, what are you doing? Even family members was kind of heartbroken at the time, because nobody believed in this except me and a few handful of people. So I just blindly sold everything that I owned, all my golf clubs that I worked hard for. I sold it all, made a few $100, and I got on an airplane and I came to the States. And that's where I met up with another kicking coach called Mike Hollis. People in, if you're a Jacksonville Jaguars fan, you might be familiar with him. He was an all-pro kicker for the Jaguars, the Giants. He was, an all-pro kicker in '98. So he was the first original Jacksonville Jaguars kicker, the first guy to score points for the franchise. So I spent time with him learning the right technique because he has some football knowledge. He's played this game at the highest level. He was the best kicker in the world at one point. Who better to learn from? So he took me in. He kind of guided me through what football is all about when it comes to special teams, but to a point. So after a couple of workouts, which I guess we'll eventually get to this point when we talk about Albany. In 2018, I was in Jacksonville, and out of the blue, out of the left field, I have a coach that was like, "Hey, we're willing to give you a workout. Drive down to Orlando and meet up with us." So we go down to Orlando. I'm 19 years old. I can barely speak English. I'm not used to this new culture. I'm in this big country that I have no knowledge about. It was such a big change for me. But I met up with this coach and I kicked for him for a whole hour. And he asked me afterwards. He's like, "So what's your experience? We like what we see. We would like to sign you. Tell me more about you. Where are you from? Like, what do you do?" I was like, "Coach, this is my first ever workout. I have no high school experience, no college experience. Like, this is the first time actually kicking in front of a NF or a football coach." And he was like, "Oof, this is a little bit of a risk that they're about to take because it was in the AFL and it just so happened to be the first year of the Albany Empire." And so working out for Albany, my very first time ever. And then the coach were like, "You're a little bit inexperienced. We're gonna move on with move away from you and find a more experienced kicker," which I was like, respectfully, I was like, "Coach, I understand."
And this is 2018.
This is 2018. And so from there, my journey kind of went sideways a little. I went to a couple of teams for camps and stuff until I got picked up by my first ever team, which was the Maine Mammoths.
Yeah, and the Maine Mammoths, you actually set a new league record with 13 field goals while you were with them. Now, you spoke about coming to the States, a whole new country. Talk to me about the culture shock that you went through when you first got here.
Oh, I love telling this story. For me, it was my first experience at Chipotle. In South Africa, we call it a wrap. In Jacksonville, it just ironically they call it a tortilla, which I did not know. So when I walked up, I was like, in my very broken English that I spoke at the time, I was like, "Can I please get a wrap?" And for probably 5 minutes, we were going back and forth of "What do you want this?" And I can't explain to them because my vocabulary is so limited that at one point I was just like, "Give me the white round thing." And they were like, "Oh, tortilla." So that was kind of the sum up. So from that point, I was kind of a little bit insecure about my English and the way I talk, that I kind of kept to myself for the first 2 years. I didn't really talk to nobody, kind of just stayed in the background just for safety. But there was a point that I was like, I want to make this home. Things are going to change. I have to step up and be, I got to learn. So I started listening to podcasts and English interviews and kind of learned a little bit more about the culture as well, So, and I quickly got caught up with that. So I would say 7-8 years later, it's going pretty decent, at this point, I'm kind of satisfied where I'm at.
Yeah, that's incredible. When my dad first came to the States, he said that he would listen to music and that would help him. Did that help you?
Yeah, I was definitely introduced, first of all, to American country music. I had a couple of friends that was like, "All right, listen to country." But when you go to the football teams, it's all hip hop and rap,
There's
So
more country.
I had a little bit of taste of both worlds, and I loved it. I really felt like my time here, I learned so much from friends and family that I have here, and from the teammates that I have. It's two worlds combining and colliding, and it really caught me up to speed really quick.
Now, how different are the hits in rugby to the hits in football, would you say? I know you don't get hit as much, but I have a friend who played rugby, and her legs always looked like a bruised brown banana
Oh yeah,
because you get hit so much.
yeah. And rugby, I want to say, you know that the rate of concussions is usually a little bit higher as well. So half the hits you don't really remember just because of the concussion. But the body was definitely bruised up, and rugby really made me tough. If it wasn't for that, I mean, I wouldn't have learned all the lessons through life that I have learned now. Because we used to play through the pain. You know, like I remember games where I would dislocate my shoulder mid game, quickly pop it back into the socket, and just continue for the next 40 minutes. And I played with fractured ribs before. I just didn't want to be taken off the field. You know, like because this is the game you love. You would live and die
Mhm.
for this game. So it's definitely been tough. Transitioning to football kind of shifted my focus on, you know, my craft. I can focus just on kicking and not go and condition your body to take hits nonstop as well. You know, so the craft definitely got a little bit better with time because you could put more focus towards it. But the body, I want to say, softened up a little bit. You know, so I'm very content with only a handful of tackles a season. You know, when it's needed. But
Mhm.
I know that it's ingrained in me. Like if the opportunity presents itself, I wouldn't turn it down. You know, like I'm gonna regret it the next morning, but I'm gonna do my best to lay out the biggest tackle I possibly can.
Yeah. Now, I know you were just in Salina, but this Sunday you are back home in Albany where you're going to be playing Montana Billings. Now, talk to me about the energy from the crowd, the culture of arena football in Albany, and how it feels to be playing for a team like them.
It's amazing. You know, just to bring it full circle, first team I've ever worked out for, and then 7 years later, it's the team that calls me looking for an experienced kicker, and I'm the first on the list. You know, it was just a surreal experience. You know, the energy that Albany has, I've never experienced it anywhere else. You know, the fans are phenomenal. You know, from day one that we walked in here, it wasn't even day one. It was in the off season. As soon as I got signed, I got so many text messages from people I've never met before. That was like, "Hey, welcome to Albany. We're so excited to have you." I had some phone calls with people here that I met in person that are phenomenal. You know, and then seeing them at game day as well. Like they show up, they show love. You know, it's surreal. You know, like I'm very fortunate to be here and experiencing this firsthand. Um, and obviously just the staff and everybody like this is this has been growing on me. This even started last year when I was playing for West Texas. We came to Albany mid-season. That was, if for people that don't remember that, that was the game that Coach Ware pulled out the 4-point conversion at the end, and we lost with the Rouge. You know, that game, when I walked onto the field, Albany just felt like home. The first step I set on the field, I was like, this is where I want to be. Everything just feels right. You know, looking around you, you seeing the sponsorships, you seeing the colors. And also, I bought a house in New York State a couple of years ago as well. So I'm only 3 hours away from Albany. So for me, this is home. This is my people. So
Mhm.
when I came with West Texas and I walked in, I was like, I would do anything to be here in the following couple of the following years. And I don't regret a second. You know, I'm so thankful for Coach Ware reaching out and we getting on a phone call and making it happen because since I've been here, it's been phenomenal. The fans are electrifying. The stadium, you know, when you come in, like I've played at so many arenas in front of so many people, and there's just nothing like Albany. Like I'm just gonna leave it right there. It's phenomenal.
Mhm. Yeah, the energy is definitely something special being there, and all your teammates, I've gone to say hi to them, chat with them a little bit. So I wanna talk a little bit about team dynamics. You know, I've seen some singing along, dancing on the field or on the bench. Who would you say is the funniest guy on the team?
Oh, we got so many characters on this team. It's where do I even start? Like I once again I can go through the whole list. I mean the first one that just pops up is Harold Love. Like
Uh-huh.
and is he's
Big
probably
superstar.
he's probably one of the top three funniest people I've ever met in my life. You know, every morning he's happy from sun up to sundown. You know, and I'm pretty sure if I wake him up at 1 a.m., he's gonna wake up with a smile. You know, like uh, there's so many funny dudes here. It's definitely every day, whether it's practice or meetings or when we do film study or pull workouts, it's entertainment from the second you walk into the second you leave. You know, it's
Mhm.
I honestly next year we might start up the Albany Firebirds Comedy Club because we will make that show last a lifetime. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool having like some mic'd up moments during the game because sometimes the joking around. I saw one of the players who was singing along to Taylor Swift, and now every time I see him, I just think Taylor Swift, and it's just like everyone's bantering together. It's just a really nice thing to see.
It's
You know
funny
that
that you say the mic up because I actually went out of my way to go buy a little mic that I do want to attach and just at practice start walking to guys and just listening, eavesdrop and just seeing what's going on in the huddle, and I think it's going to be some really good content.
Yeah, we got to make that happen. I'll have to talk to the social guy, Ben in Albany, and see what he can do about that. Now, my last team dynamic question is, if you had to pick one teammate to be stranded on an island with, who would it be and why?
Whew. Well, I got two routes that I could go. One, obviously Sam Castronova. I just love the dude. We got such a good brotherly dynamic going on. We kind of like a package deal, So wherever he goes, I go, and vice versa, I believe. So if there's a golf course on the island, definitely Sam. If I want to survive and eat food for as long as I'm there, I'm gonna find one of the big O line and D line guys because wherever they go, there'll be food. So I know I'll survive.
Yeah, smart thinking. Well, Henry, it was great talking to you. I'll let you get some rest because I know you had a very long 2 days of traveling, but I'm excited to be back in Albany this Sunday and watch you guys play your big game against Billings. Thank you again for taking the time to chat, and I'll see you this weekend.
Thank you guys. Have a good one.
Mhm.